A lot of people then they invest one or two properties, but they don't scale to the level of scale that you have got to.
Try to find people that are looking for rental properties because those are easy to convert. And I was able to convert people over and over again just because of that. But my mentor kept saying, find out what you love to do and you hire everyone else for the rest. During that time, it was COVID. Some people were working, some people weren't working. I just put my head down and was like, I don't want to buy anything flashy. I don't want to buy anything fancy. I want to buy rental properties.
So, how much passive income are your 30 plus doors producing?
So right now we're close to about 15 to 17,000 a month.
We all have bad stories.
I hope you got time. I got so many bad stories that I could tell you. Trust your instinct, and not every deal is a deal. There are a lot more houses that are not deals. Take the emotion out. Look at the numbers. Are there accurate numbers? The first thing I would say, don't watch any of those reality shows about being a realtor because they're all lies. One thing I will say as a realtor is learn the investment game. If you learn how to be an investor agent, you will always have deals.
Welcome back to Bigger Life Podcast. Today we have our awesome guest, Deba Douglas from Texas. She is the owner of Douglas Dwellings LLC. She has built a portfolio of 30 plus units in less than 4 years. She's also a mentor, a realtor with 100 plus mentees. Welcome, Deba. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. It is such an honor to be on your podcast today. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for joining. Well, we are thrilled to have you, Deba, on the show. And there's a lot to learn and a lot to get inspired from your stories. So I always like to ask, right? So how did you get started? So that's always like we always have like some kind of a past life where we were, and what were you doing before real estate? Let's start from there.
Yeah, so I was in education. At that time, I was an assistant principal at a middle school, I believe. And I just got to the point that I was like, I don't want to move up in my role or in my career in education. I knew that I wanted more out of life, but I really didn't know what that was going to look like. And then I read a book that just happened to be in my office, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, which I fell in love with. And I literally read from front to back within like 2 days reading the book because I could not stop reading it because it just confirmed a lot of the things that were in my head, but I wasn't sure how to articulate it. And literally after I read that book, everything changed in my life.
A lot of people that I talk to, especially in real estate investing, right? And myself as well, have changed people's lives. Awesome, awesome book. That was like a transformational kind of book. So, I mean, now you know that you need to do something, right? From here, what was the next step? Like with me, it was more like I read the book, but then I knew where to get started. And this is kind of like even more confusing. Now you know you have to do something,
Yeah.
but it's when you don't know the information. And how did you dabble into real estate?
Yes. So immediately after I finished reading the book, I talked to my husband, and he's probably like, here she goes on this crazy tangent. And now, what does she want to do? And he was like, I told him that we needed to cut back on our living and we needed to save money and we wanted to save to buy our first rental property. That's literally all I knew. I didn't know any other steps. But what I started to do after that was on my way to work, on my commute, instead of listening to the radio, I started finding podcasts to listen to. And I stumbled on Bigger Pockets, and that literally became my university of learning different strategies, learning the lingo, understanding, how you use money. And I think going into regular school and you're not taught how to use money effectively. That money will grow instead of you turning in your time to receive the money. So Bigger Pockets was a really great avenue for me of just learning a different tool of how to use money as a vehicle to get to my financial freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. So now and at that time, I'm assuming you had your primary home, right? Which is
Yes.
most people's first investment. And how did you save? Did you pay cash for it? Did you finance it? So let's talk about a little bit more into that first deal.
Yeah. So about a year later, after we've read the book, we're saving money, we're cutting back on everything. We finally, during this time, we're looking at properties, we're reaching out to realtors, and we finally find the property. So how do we pay for it? We actually took a HELOC out on our home. And it was an opportunity for us because we had a lot of equity. We had lived in that house for almost like 5-6 years at the time. So there was an extensive amount of equity, and we were able to pull out about $100,000. What I loved about the HELOC is that we were able to get the HELOC and we didn't use any of the money until we found the deal. So while we have the HELOC, we're not paying monthly for it because we haven't pulled any money out. And so our goal was utilizing the HELOC was we have to use it for something that's going to generate more money for us, because you do have to pay it back. Over the one we had to pay it back in 10 years. So we had a couple of $1,000 saved in our regular savings account. And then we also used the HELOC of what we needed. We found a duplex. I'm in the Dallas area, and we found our first duplex in Fort Worth, which is about an hour away from my home. But the numbers made sense, and we decided that we're just going to buy it. And we ended up calling our lender that helped us buy our first house, do a conventional loan. We called them, said, hey, we want to buy a property. He was like, sure. You just got to put 20 to 25% down. Because it was a duplex, we had to put 25% down. So the money we saved plus the HELOC, we put that together, bought this property. It had a lot of maintenance issues, but we didn't know that because we didn't know what we were supposed to look for. As soon as we bought it, literally both tenants that were already occupied, they reached out to us and was like, this is wrong with the house. This is wrong. And we looked at each other like, we don't even know what to do. So at that point, we decided to get a property management company to kind of help us, because we both had full-time jobs and we didn't even know the first person to call for maintenance issues. So we kind of learned through the property management company. But the thing that was a light bulb for us was that we now have 2 units. They're cash flowing. Every month, we're building a slow amount of equity, but we're making money. After we pay for expenses, pay for the mortgage, taxes, insurance, set aside money for maintenance or whatever, we were still clearing close to $500 a month. And to me, that was like genius. Like, I'm going to work, I'm making my money from education, but I have this freaking property that I would never live in, but it's making me $500 a month without me even doing anything.
And after paying for the property manager and all these maintenance expenses that you were having, since you did not, you got what you got.
Right.
And it's still cash flowing. So you had a great deal.
Yeah.
And this is what, 2019?
This was, yes, 2019, right at the very beginning of 2019. We bought this, and it's crazy because now I'm thinking about it right now. We are actually doing a cash out refinance on that property right now so that we can go and buy some businesses and some other things. And I'm able to pull out over $150,000 and still cash flow.
Awesome. Listen to this. So you got a HELOC so you can buy this property. And in 4 years, now you're just getting ready to pull money out of this property so you can make another investment. So this is the power of real estate, right?
Yes, that is the power of real estate.
Yeah. So this leverage, appreciation, and cash flow and depreciation. I think those 4 levers give you so much of, lack of a better word, power.
Yes.
As compared to maybe some other investment strategies or some other asset classes that real estate has. I mean, this is great. This is a very inspiring.
Thank you. And we didn't know what we were doing. We just kept going. And eventually you just keep going. God will connect you with the right people, with the right resources. You just have to keep moving and keep one foot in front of the other.
Real estate is very forgiving because you generally hold it for a longer time.
Yes.
But if you make some mistakes, generally after, in some fashion or after some time period, it autocorrects.
Yes.
It kind of brings you to the market. So you bought the first property. Now you have a property manager who's managing your property. You're cash flowing $500 per month. How did you, because a lot of people then they invest 1 or 2 properties, but they don't scale to the level of scale that you have got to. Not only that, but you are also mentoring other people. And then you said, I'm going to become a realtor. So now you got this light bulb, but from light bulb to Deba Douglas LLC and multiple business asset classes, right? Or different streams within real estate. So walk us through. So how did it all happen? Because
Yes.
scalability is a big issue, right?
Yes, that was the biggest issue for us because we're listening to all these podcasts and people are saying they're buying 5, 6 houses in 1 year. How is that possible? We're like, how is that possible? Because we just put 25% in the one duplex. So that led us to learn about the BRRRR strategy. And we literally found every book we could find, get our hands on, read it, try to connect the dots with the right people, and trying to create our team, trying to create the BRRRR strategy where you're buying a distressed property, you're going to rehab it, then you rent it out, and then once it's rented out, you go back and do a cash out refinance, pull the money out of the deal, and you repeat yourself over and over again. So what we ended up doing, because we still had some money from our HELOC, we also had family members that were willing to be private lenders for us. We were like, okay, let's find a deal that we can do our first BRRRR. So we found a deal again in Fort Worth, an hour away, because the numbers just seemed to make a little bit more sense for us. We buy a property for $65,000. We rehab it. Now the property should appraise for us for 120. We put a tenant in there making, I think they're paying, $1,100 a month. And this was our first BRRRR. 3 months of seasoning. We go back and do our cash out refinance. The realtor at the time mentioned that it was going to appraise for 120. It appraised for 103. And I have my own money tied in this deal, my brother-in-law's money tied into this deal because he's our private lender. And there's no money to give him because now we have money stuck in the deal because the realtor that we had, she gave us the wrong comps. So that did stall us out for a little bit, but I felt that, hey, I just didn't get the right people on my team. So that was on me. I took extreme ownership of it. I talked with my brother-in-law, told him, hey, this is the way I'm going to pay you back. You will now be a partner in this property. So now you have an equity stake in this. Whatever we make every month, you're going to make half of it as well. He was 100% forgiving. And he's now still one of my best partners that I work with today because he was like, I trust you. You will figure this out. So that led me to say, I really wasn't happy with my job. I felt that if I became a realtor, I would have more access to the MLS. I would know what to look for. I would be able to do my due diligence a little bit better. And that's what led me to say, okay, let me get my real estate license while I was a principal. As soon as I got my real estate license, I just quit. I was like, this job is not helping me. It's not giving me any value. Mind you, we had saved some money. We have a little bit of cash flow coming in. We live very minimal under our means. So everything was easy for me to walk away, be more present with my kids while I was creating this real estate business for myself. And my husband and I set it up where he covered the month-to-month finances in the house and I was the risk taker. So all I had to do was make sure I created money to go take risk. And that's all I focused on. So I decided to jump in. I literally documented everything I did on social media. And that is probably the best way I can give any advice to anyone. Just put yourself out there. Tell people what you're doing. Show people that you're walking houses. I was showing rental properties, but people thought they were regular houses. So people started calling me to show them real houses. And that first year as a realtor, I sold over 42 houses, all because of social media. None of these people were people I knew. It was just I posted in groups. I posted everything I was doing. I would share my stories. I would share about my clients, and people were able to relate to me. And I think that was the game changer.
Let's circle back on that. So your first year, you sold 42 homes
Yes.
and you sold them to people that you never met before.
Nope.
Okay, let's circle back. A lot of realtors would like to know that. I mean, forget about investing. Let's talk realtors here. Right? So, because I'm a real estate agent myself, however, I use my license to serve my needs, just like how
Yeah.
you picked up your license. And right now, I don't have a desire to kind of go out and say I want to work as a realtor. But there's a lot of realtors who have the licenses, but they're struggling. Okay, so this is like realtor business class 101, right?
Yeah.
Walk me through the process. So you got your license, and what did you do after that?
I was posting on social media like crazy. I would post at least 3 or 4 times a day. And things that I was posting was just a selfie with me walking into a house, or me posting, I'm about to go show a house. Would y'all like to see it? And I would have a little bit of engagement. And then if I struggled or I was having a rough day, I would post about that too and say, hey, I kind of miss my W-2 job because now I'm struggling trying to figure out this real estate world out. I would even talk about, I can't believe this is my life where I get to spend time with my kids. I shared everything. Like I literally just exposed myself to just be an open book about my transition of leaving education. And then when I would buy a rental property, I would literally document us rehabbing it. I would document every aspect of it. And then the other key that I tell all realtors, get into different real estate groups and different random groups that are aligned with hobbies and things that you like, because there's people in there that are looking for properties. And try to find people that are looking for rental properties, because those are easy to convert. Because if someone's looking for a rental property that's like $2,700 to $3,500, those people can afford a mortgage payment. They just don't know the process. And that's where you come in as the expert to tell them, well, hey, if you're going to buy this, you can buy a house and not do a rental property. And I was able to convert people over and over again just because of that.
So do you remember your first client?
Yes, I remember my first client, and I'm still very, very close friends with her today. And I remember we had a super on the door, and thank God I got there 30 minutes earlier, because it took me almost 30 minutes to figure out how to open the door. And I was so embarrassed. My palms were all shaky. I was just like, oh my gosh, I cannot do this. But you go through that, and it's okay to, and I would tell people, hey, when I first figured this out, I didn't know anything. And it's okay to be the person that doesn't know. But then when people watch your journey, they feel like you're a part of their life because they saw the entire progression.
Great. Yeah. But now you have not bought anything yet. Or did you buy anything in between that?
Within the first 6 months, I bought something. After I quit, I found another duplex that we were able to pick up, and we used a hard money lender at that point.
Awesome. Okay. And well, this is very inspiring that within first year of your license, you sold 42 homes.
Yes. And I will also make this caveat. The only reason I was able to sell 42 homes is that my mentor at the time said, figure out what you do well and then hire everyone else for other things that you don't want to do. And I think a lot of realtors struggle with that, especially if they've been very successful and they do every aspect of everything themselves. I started with hiring someone. So after I'd done 2 or 3 deals, I was like, I do not want to mess with this paperwork. Like, paperwork makes my head scream. So I hired a transaction coordinator. And not only did I hire her to do that, I also hired her to double check my contract. So if I wrote the contract, she would just double check it just to make sure that there wasn't going to be any issues. And she was with me through all of my progression of as we grew, and as I continued to, do a lot more transactions. She helped me grow because I didn't have to worry about paperwork.
Yeah, this is right. And to the listeners, you can hire transaction coordinators on a deal to deal basis. You don't have to hire
Mhm.
them full time. This is more like a contract and whatever it is, right? So let's say $500 per transaction, and they will offload a lot of that compliance and paperwork going back and forth with brokerage and all that stuff. So, I mean, I don't do a whole lot of transactions. I just, you know, because I'm just doing it for myself. And when
Yeah.
I have to do it, I dread about it. I'm like, man,
Dread it.
no. Yes.
Yes.
So this is your first year. So I think by the end of first year, how many properties you have now? Like three properties, three
I had
investment properties.
3, and then that first year, I think we picked up like 2 or 3 more. Like we picked up the second set of duplexes, and then I think we bought 3 other single family properties that year.
Now let's talk about systems and tools that you put in place that help you grow from zero. And by that time, you were at your first year mark. So you
Yeah.
talked about transaction coordinator as one. So what other people did you had by that time, or what tools were you using by that time?
Yeah. So by the time that my first year, I had my transaction coordinator, And then I also had a social media person that would post for me on social media because I knew that was a very big component of me growing. But sometimes I was so busy showing or doing whatever, I didn't have time to post. So I hired somebody from, I think, from the Philippines, and they helped me just post stuff. And I would just check it and look over it to make sure it was good. And then I got to the point that my transaction coordinator was the one checking all the social media posts, and they would just be posted throughout the day. And I wouldn't even know anything about it until I decided to get on social media. But it looked like I was on social media the whole time. And then some systems that I put in place because I was a principal, I knew about logistics, I knew about delegation. So I did a lot of platforms like Google Drive. So every property that I bought, I put it on Google Drive. It had its own folder, and I would dump all the documents in there. One, it kept me organized. And two, whenever I'm ready to do my cash out refinance, I have that folder, give it to my lender, and she has everything that she needs for the property. And then I could share that Google Drive with whoever needed access with it. And I could easily pull it up when I'm away from my computer. So that kind of helped me just being accessible at all times. The other thing I did, we got to the point that we started managing our own rental properties. And I was a person managing the day-to-day everything. And it was to the point they were texting me about maintenance issues. And I'm very like, I want to work, but I like to work smart. I don't want to be a hard worker. I just want to be a smart worker. So then I started entertaining, figuring out different property management software systems. And I found Tenant Cloud. What I love about Tenant Cloud is that I can market and list the property on Tenant Cloud. The potential tenants can complete the application. They can pay for the application. And then I can immediately send them the new lease to sign from Tenant Cloud. Everything is built into the portal. I can access the portal from my phone anywhere in the world. They can pay the monthly payment for rent. They can submit maintenance requests, and I can communicate with them back and forth. So they never have to know who I am, and everything goes through the portal.
Okay, so you had property management came back to you because the first property you gave it to a property manager.
Yes.
But now the property management came back to you. So, but you have the social media manager and transaction coordinator to help you with this side of the thing. But showing homes is a job in itself because it takes a long time.
Yeah.
Driving these properties, opening, showing, and having said closing 42 homes in a year, that's almost closing a home each week.
Yes,
That's
pretty much. And it gets very taxing. A lot of those homes were new construction. So new construction was very easy to do because all you did was show up at the new construction. There's several houses to pick. And literally from one showing, we can pick a house and we can already be under contract. And there's not much that I have to be heavily involved throughout the process because it's a brand new home. I will say by my second year, I had hired another agent to be on my team to help me with showings. And I think I just kind of looked at what my mentor said is realize that every season there were aspects that I loved doing showings. There were aspects when I did like doing paperwork. But my mentor kept saying, find out what you love to do and you hire everyone else for the rest. So every month, it's crazy. Every month I'm always reevaluating what does Deba like to do? And the things that I may have liked 2 years ago, but now I don't like those, I will figure out someone on my team or figure out how to hire someone, and they can be commission based because I like to pay people based on commission because we are all in, a commission only business, to get them to do that. And they love to do it. They'll take ownership of it and they'll run circles around me because that's not something that I like to do.
okay, great. So how was the second year for you? How many homes now you have hired another co-agent or a team member? So how many
Second
homes
year,
did you
I
guys
think
close?
we almost doubled what we did the first year. It was amazing. It was like, the thing that was so crazy, my intentions were not to be a great realtor. My intentions were, I'm going to do a couple of rentals. I need to make some money so I can go buy and build our rental portfolio. But because I was very successful, I was able to buy a lot of rental properties very quickly. And one thing I always tell a lot of realtors, especially because during that time it was COVID, some people were working, some people weren't working. I just put my head down and was like, I don't want to buy anything flashy. I don't want to buy anything fancy. I want to buy rental properties. because you never know what's going to happen. And I didn't like the feeling of some months I may have not had anything in the pipeline, or I'm waiting for things to sell or to close. And sometimes I have this ridiculous transaction that will just never close. I didn't like being dependent on what's going to close if that's going to change my mood. So my focus was create passive income and create enough passive income that you literally have sold a $600,000 house every month and didn't have to do anything.
Yeah. Awesome. So by the end of year 2, how many homes did you have?
By the end of year 2, I think we were close to about 12 to 15. And then we started intertwining. Okay, let's flip some houses. Let's buy land and let's look at trying to build houses.
What systems, tools did you have by the end of year 2 that were not in place by the end of year 1? Like, you must have added more things to it, right?
Yeah, so I did add a couple more. I think a lot of it was my time management. So at this time, I had kind of hired an assistant that they would help me manage my day to day, manage my calendar, manage what I was involved in. And then I also hired a coach because I'm in a place that I've never been before. I'm making a lot more money than I've ever been before. And I want to be very intentional with that. So I hired a coach that's going to help me continue to grow and scale in real estate as a realtor. But really, I just used all those tips to turn around and help me with my real estate investing business. And because I was literally documenting every aspect of it, that's when I started having people say, hey, can I pick your brain? Can we meet for coffee? I want to see what you're doing and how you did it. And so I would meet with them because I'm so excited about real estate. I want everyone to be excited about real estate. And then it got to the point that they were taking so much of my time, my scalability to scale and buy more properties for my family started diminishing. And I did not like that because I'm like, I am not here for everybody else. I really was here for my family. And so my husband came up with this an idea. He was like, well, why don't you just create a course? And once you create it, you push it out. And when somebody wants to know more about it, you give them all the tips and tools, but you only had to record it once. So I was like, okay, let me get on YouTube, figure out how to do that. I created a course. It took me about maybe 2 or 3 months. I pushed it out and people would buy it. I felt like I had to push it out and sell it. And I didn't like to do that because that was not my goal. And then I found a couple people that were like, they want one-on-one mentorship. They wanted someone to hold their hand. And it was a couple that we went to the same church. And I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. Let's figure it out. They were so successful. And they're so successful now that they own over 9 properties. Some they flip, some that they rent out. I mean, they're very, very successful. And they're kind of like my model student. And they're still with me to this day. And that's what really helped push the course to now I help tons of people because of what they did. And they literally told the world like, oh my gosh, I didn't know anything about real estate. And we've always wanted to do it in our lives. And Deba literally held our hand through the entire process.
Awesome. You built all this portfolio by this time from the income that you're getting from your real estate, working as an agent, plus all the BRRRRs that you're doing. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Let's delve into year 3. So you get into year 3. So how does the year 3 look like?
So year 3 was better because now at this point, I have a full out team. I have agents that are showing, I'm sending leads in, they're moving through it. I'm really working and mastering this course and trying to figure out, okay, how can I make this course better, but they don't need Deba all the time. And so at that point, we started playing around with different aspects of it. I had a really solid agent that would, he would know what I needed and he would just jump and go do it. So he was kind of like my sidekick that did everything, that helped me through everything that I needed. You always have to have one of those when you are trying to build out your business. And by the end of year 3, my coaching business had literally doubled. Mainly most of our listings came from my mentees. And at that point, I had to spend some time trying to figure out, okay, yes, you're a great realtor. You also can do this course and your course feeds your real estate business. We just have to figure out what you want to go all in. So I took some time to just kind of figure out, okay, what makes Deba enjoy life that I wake up excited? It's empowering other people. It's showing people how to make this work. And I also had a team. So at that time, now my team was changing because now I'm realizing what I really need out of agents, because not all agents fit what I'm looking for. And not all agents want to hustle and do what they're supposed to do to be successful. I had some agents that just wanted to take a picture with me to say they know me. That's not what I was looking for. So going through that personnel, going through like me evolving to being someone different that I thought I was when I first started, I went through a lot of those emotions and just kind of the transformation of now really being like, you are a business owner, a successful business owner. There's a different way that you move. There's a different way, that you show up every day. And there's things that are needed from you to continue to grow this. So that was year 3 was slower, I will say. We still did a lot of volume, but I wasn't adding any more pieces because I was trying to navigate what was really going on and what could be sustainable.
And you're trying to make it efficient, right? So
Yes.
because when you're growing, a lot of problems also grow along with it,
Yes.
and you're not really looking to weed out the problems because you're growing at a rapid pace and you don't want to
Mhm.
slow down your growth. But then comes the point where you're like, okay, let me take a pause, let me hold on to the growth, but now let me look at the systems, let me look internally
Yes.
and improve the systems. And those improvements, I think it helps with two things, and you can add others. One, it reduces cost
Yes.
and it brings efficiency to the whole process. What
Yes.
else? I mean, of course, there's more things to it.
There was more clarity. I could now see the holes and I can now expect what I am inspecting. I didn't have time to inspect anything because I was going, going, going. So by slowing down, I could realize, oh, I probably just need to do more training with this person. Or, you know what? They're actually doing the same job and they don't realize it. Let me put in some better processes, put some some checklists in place. And we created, we started using Trello where everyone on the team would know where everyone is at based on the project. And then that would expose who my weakest link was because there's always one. And then I could try to grow that person, or I can move that person out of whatever their role is and put someone else in. And that's what really helped me. That at that time, I think I had a team of like 15 people. I was able to condense that to like 4 or 5 people.
And how was the investing side going? Because now you have three different lines of business going on. So you are
Yes.
realtor and that side of the thing. We talked about that. How was real estate investing going on? So that year, how much portfolio did you add, or how many birds did you do?
Yeah, so that year we did about 4 BRRRRs and 1 flip, which I felt like that was still steady. The good thing is I had a nice solid crew. So as long as I knew they knew my colors, they knew everything, I would show up maybe once a week. It was just push and play. So that was always good. And that's what woke me up excited every day. It's just knowing, like, I just bought this and I'm going to turn it into this. And I could bring my mentees on the journey with me. So it was like that was a way I could still teach them hands on because I'm still working on properties.
And how many mentees did you have the first year, like the year two? And how many mentees did you have this year two, year
Yes, the
three?
first year I had about 2 mentees. The second year we doubled maybe about 4 or 5. And then the third year, and since then, we just continued to double our numbers.
Awesome. So that's like 20, I believe, 20, end of 2022, we are talking in 2020.
Mhm.
Yeah. So how was last year or this year? So let's fast forward into those two things.
Yeah, so last year and this year was more clarity, more efficient. I'll be honest, I did less in volume last year or this past year because of the slow market, but I made more money. I know it blows my mind. But I did less in volume, but I made more money because I was more efficient with my processes. I was more efficient with who I paid and how I paid them, and I was able to organize myself even more. I had more time to be with my kids. At this time, now I have 3 kids. So I have more time to be with them because I now am expecting what everyone is supposed to be doing. I have this little quote on my wall that I look at in front of my desk every day that talks about my role as a CEO. My role as a CEO is to make sure that everyone in the team is working efficiently better than I would in those roles. So I'm looking at that every day and I'm realizing I can't be in the weeds. I need to be the overseer, making sure that if you need something, I'm here to serve you. If you need me to step in, I'm here to serve you. But I shouldn't be involved with, did you schedule the showing? Did you walk the house? I don't need to be involved with that because my mind needs to be clear to see the vision and put those steps in place to meet that vision.
Absolutely. If you want to grow, one needs to have the CEO mindset. And
Yes.
unless you have the CEO mindset and you have the management mindset, like you're trying to be the operator of things and you're into the weeds of every little decision that needs to happen. Did I order the toilet rolls? Did I order this? Did the paint get picked up?
Yeah.
Or did this scheduling happen for cleaning? Or this and that? I think it's a big issue because you can't grow. You
No.
are doing so many little deep, little tasks.
Yeah.
It just takes time, but produces low. It's not efficient,
No.
and that's where you need to have the team, the right processes, and training that team takes a long time too. But
Yes.
once you train them and they know what they're doing, and you are elevated to the CEO model, that's when you can add another business or or
Hmm.
grow the same business, whatever direction you want to go.
Yeah. And that's where we are. It feels really good because now I feel like I can have a handle on what's going on. I can actually look at my pipeline and know what I need to do to grow. If I want to grow, this is the first time ever that I've turned down business and just say, you know what? I don't really think we work well together. I'm okay not taking that listing, or I'm okay not having you on my course. I've never been at a place that before because I'm always like, I need everything because I didn't have time to look at everything.
So, how much passive income are your 30 plus doors producing?
So right now we're close to about 15 to 17,000 a month.
And that's net cash flow after paying mortgage,
Yes.
maintenance, all of the expenses,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's clear cash flow.
Clear cash flow.
Awesome. Awesome. So real estate is an industry where this can be done, and we hear these stories every day. And I'm sure your mentees, your agents, they are able to replicate that model,
Yes.
right? Some a little bit more, some a little bit less, but based upon the effort that you put into it, anybody can do it. It's not rocket
Anybody can
science.
do this. I totally agree. I feel like I try to be as relatable as possible because there's nothing different with me. I just decided to say I'm tired of what I was living. I was tired of what our lives look like, and I was willing to delay gratification for a certain period of time. And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with because we want to have everything right there at our fingertips. But I will tell you, it's not about the destination. It's so much more about the journey. Because now that I'm at the place where I do have a financial freedom and I'm not really worried about the day to day, I don't even want anything. I don't even care for things. I'm just more enjoy the moment wherever my feet are present.
Yep, absolutely. So now that you have a well-oiled systems and tools in place and the financial freedom, let's get into a different segment. We all have bad stories to talk about and good stories, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about one bad story that happened that you wish never has happened, or or kind of like a lesson for others to avoid. You want to talk
Yes.
about that?
I hope you got time. I got so many bad stories that I could
I
tell you.
know. Yeah, plenty of time. Yeah.
There was one story that I don't wholesale a lot, but I do find properties that I come across that I'm like, oh, this will be a good deal. Let me think about, I'll buy it. And if I don't decide to close on it, I'll wholesale it to someone else. So I go into this deal. They want me to put $5,000 earnest money. And I'm like, okay, I know I can find someone to buy it, or I'll just keep it myself. So at that time, I was also working on like 3 or 4 other properties at the time, and I was literally to my capacity. So we didn't have an option period because I just knew I was going to be able to find someone to buy this property. So we go under contract. I put up my 5,000. It's literally a week before we're supposed to close on it. And I'm like, I cannot take on another property. I know I can't. Like, my crew is like, we're tired. We just need to take a breather. And so I'm like, okay, let me reach out to a couple of my buddies. Let me see if they want this deal. I'll just wholesale it to them at cost. I won't even make any money on it. I reach out to a couple of my buyers that they buy in that particular area. They go out and they're like, Deba, did you know that the panel is completely gone on this house? Like, the city has removed the entire panel. So anytime the city gets involved with any of your houses, just know that they're going to make the process more difficult than needed. So that means if the panel is completely gone, I'm going to have to put permits in the price. And it's okay doing permits, but I know everything's going to be a little bit later and it's going to take a little bit more time. Not only will I have to pull permits on the electrical because the panel's gone, I'm going to have to pull permits on everything in the house now, because once one agency comes out, they're all going to come out. And so most of my guys were like, no, it's just going to take too much time. I don't want to have to deal with that. Or I need the price even lower, because now I'm going to have to spend a lot more time and my holding fees are going to be a lot longer of time to get this house completely done. So I couldn't find anybody to buy this property. And so I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to buy it. I'm literally like giving this house away. Can someone please buy it? No one was able to buy it. So I lost $5,000 because they were like, hey, we couldn't find a buyer. They even tried to help me find a buyer. They couldn't find a buyer. So I lost $5,000. It was a lesson learned for me because I had bought 3 or 4 houses on that same street. So I didn't do my normal due diligence because I felt like, oh, I know that area. I know everything about the house. And it was a sight unseen. So to this day, it doesn't matter how familiar I am with the area. I will internally take my time and do my own due diligence, go walk the property, or have someone go out, do a in detailed video where I can see everything, because of that deal that I lost $5,000 on.
Yeah. And that's the reason I want to talk about bad stories here, because a lot of time people just hear good stories, how we made money, or how you can make money and all the good stuff. But real estate, if you don't pay attention,
Yeah.
and there's a lot to cover, right?
Yes.
And no podcast can cover everything, no book can cover everything. There's just a lot. But you keep educating, you keep listening, you keep watching, you keep reading, and then you start doing.
Yes.
But just be aware that there are a lot of different processes that needs to happen, and due diligence is one of those. That
Yes.
is absolute must. If you're remote, then have somebody trusted, boots on the ground, kind of go and see the property, or you kind of go yourself and check it out and make sure it fits your criteria.
Yes.
Alrighty, let's shift gears. Let's talk about a good story.
Yes. Okay. So my favorite story is the second set of duplexes that we purchased. This was the first time I was using a hard money lender. So I was already terrified. Like, most times people think hard money lenders are like loan sharks. So I was like already nervous. So we buy this duplex for $197 from a wholesaler. It needed about $30,000 to $35,000 worth of work for the combined units. This particular property had 2 living rooms. So I ended up closing off one of the living rooms, turning that into a room, adding a closet, and it already had a window. So I was already ready for it to be a set closet. And I did it on both sides. So instead of it being a 2-bedroom, 1.5 bath, it's now a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. That changed the value of the property. I was able to get more in rent. I think the normal rent for a 2, 1.5 was like $1,200. I was able to get up to $1,700 for it. And the original value, based on me just leaving it as is, was going to be close to $300,000. Because I added both of those rooms, now my new value was $405,000. So I went back and did my cash out refinance. I got all my money back that I put in the deal, plus an additional 40 grand that I was able to use that to go buy more properties.
Awesome. Let's talk about do's and don'ts. First of all, from an investing standpoint, if I'm getting started, right, I'm listening to Deba. What advice do you have from a do and don't standpoint?
Yes. 1, do your due diligence. Really research the area you plan on investing. And that means if you're not a realtor, look on Zillow, look at realtor.com, see what's going on in that market, if it's for sale or rent. Literally tag one house and watch that house for 30 days and see, does it really sell? Does it go under contract? Call the agent, talk to them and see what they know about the area. Drive the area all different times of the day, all different parts of the week, because you want to really be able to feel comfortable wherever you're choosing to invest. If you're doing out of state, talk to several agents. You don't want to just talk to one person. You want to talk to several people. And then from there, you're going to get some type of summary of what's going on in that area. Go with your gut. I feel like I tell my students that every time I talk to them. If you have a uncomfortable feeling, or you just something doesn't settle well with someone you're potentially thinking about partnering, a contractor, a realtor, go with that gut, because I feel like that is the universe, that is God telling you, don't go forward with this person. Like, just don't do it. The don'ts, I would say, is trust your instinct, and not every deal is a deal. There are a lot more houses that are not deals, and be okay knowing I need to walk away. One of the biggest things that I had to remove myself, because I get so excited about these properties, take the emotion out. Completely take the emotion out. Look at the numbers. Are there accurate numbers? Am I kind of fudging the numbers to make me feel good? I don't want to buy that property, because it's going to blow up in my face later on, because the numbers don't lie.
Absolutely, numbers don't lie. Let's talk about do's and don'ts from a realtor standpoint. I'm a new agent, and what are my do's and don'ts?
The first thing I would say, don't watch any of those reality shows about being a realtor, because they're all lies. Like, none of those align with what it is to be a real realtor. To be a real realtor and be successful is you have to have discipline. Go to bed early, wake up like you have a regular job. Set your expectations every day and have a true list of money-making activities that are going to help you get leads. You should be talking to at least 10 to 20 new people every day. If you're not talking to 10 to 20 people, you know you don't have much in your pipeline. And I even say, if you're posting on social media and you're posting on your own page, that's not talking to new people, because everyone on your personal page, they should know that you're a realtor. And if they don't know, that means you've not done your due diligence of what you need to do as a realtor. Get into groups, go to meetups, go to new construction and take a bunch of videos. Sometimes you have to fake it until you make it to be a very strong realtor. Go talk to successful realtors. I don't know everything. And I know there's a lot of other successful realtors that I have no problem humbling myself to ask them, hey, how did you make that work? Like, how are you growing your business? I would always say stay humble, because you never know what this market is going to do. And maybe right now, new construction is the way of the world. But in 6 months, it could be, I just need to work with investors. And be flexible to know there's different avenues that you can make money. One thing I will say as a realtor is learn the investment game. If you learn how to be an investor agent, you will always have deals, because the investors that you're working with, they are professional real estate. All they do is real estate. So regardless of you getting with the first time home buyer, they're going to buy a house and they're not going to call you for another 10 to 15 years. But if you work with investors that buy 4 or 5 houses a year, you're going to be able to buy and help them buy that property. Most of them they'll sell or they'll rent. So again, those same 5 properties will turn into more volume for you in the back end. So if you can work with 2 or 3 investors that are doing that, you have now increased your pipeline from 4 deals to now up to 16 to 25 deals.
Awesome. Great advice. And what's your vision for 2025? Now that 2025 is right next to on the horizon, right?
Yes. Okay. My vision for 2025 is efficiency. I want to be more efficient. I want to have my contracting crew to be even more efficient, where right now we're turning houses like 4 in 4 weeks. I would like to turn them into like 3 weeks, 1 and 2.5 weeks, really get houses turning even more efficiently. On the realtor side, I would like to put better systems in place where I remove Deba from the equation altogether. I want it could be, hey, Deba's picture, but Deba isn't involved with the day-to-day. Deba's just more looking at the overseer. And then with my course business, I want to grow that robustly, where I'm now able to work with more people, but it doesn't take more of my time. So be more efficient with the group coaching.
Great, great, great insight. So, well, you have really inspired our listeners here. So, how can they reach out to you? So, somebody's like, "Hey, this story really inspired me." Whether it's trying to be your mentee or joining your real estate group or investor, they want to talk to you, find out about you. What's the best place?
Yeah, so you can reach me on social media platforms. I'm on Instagram at Deba Flips Texas. You can meet me on Facebook at Deba Douglas, or you can go to my website, which is www.douglasdwellings with an S.com. There is a link that you can schedule a call with me and we can chat about your strategies. I love to talk to new investors. I love talking to people about scaling their business. And it's just an easy conversation to just figure out where you are and see if we can work together or help you meet your real estate goals.
Well, thanks, Deva. Thanks for joining us today. Your insights are definitely very insightful, and especially you bring a lot of knowledge to the show because not only from an investment standpoint, but also as a mentor and a realtor. This is awesome. You're a full package here.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for
Have
having
a
me.
good one.
You
Thank
too.
you.